Welcome to the Impatient Entrepreneur Podcast, a show where we hear from entrepreneurs and business owners who are chomping at the bit to make their mark on the world. I'm your host, Lauren Quidar-Cockrell. Now, let's hurry up and get to the good stuff. Welcome back, friends. Today's guest has such an incredible background and story, and I'm so thrilled to get to visit with him today. When it comes to high-pressure situations, I personally tend to freeze a bit, so I'm looking forward to hearing some advice for someone who's made a business out of coaching folks for high-pressure situations. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And it's so funny that you started out the way that you did, too, because that's one of the things that I have to fight against a lot is just the language around this whole situation. I call them high stakes situations, high stakes environments. I don't believe there's such a thing as high pressure situations or high stress situations. I just don't think that they exist, and we can certainly get into why. But I love when people just lead off with the language, because the problem for me is that it just assumes that pressure is inevitable. I mean, that's what it means. If there's such a thing as a high pressure situation, then that means when you're in that situation, you by definition will experience pressure. And I don't think that that's true. And you know, I mean, I've spent a lot of years, 30 years as a stunt man, 10 years working with the military. I've been in a lot of situations that people would, I mean, they truly would. If high pressure situations are a real thing, these were those. Yeah, but
those are them.
I mean, that's, truly. I mean, I'm standing in front of a car about to get hit by it. You know, I'm about to get lit on fire. On one show, I was about to get lit on fire while being hit by the car. I mean, these are situations that truly, if high pressure situations, high stress situations are real, these are those situations. And in some of those situations, I did experience pressure, but in others, I didn't. And that in and of itself is evidence that it's not the situation that determines what we experience. It's how we perceive that situation. It's how we think about it.
Right. Well, and there's, low stakes, but feel high pressure, like negotiating with a toddler or something like that. We're like, oh my God. But is it really high stakes? But just feels sweaty.
Yeah. Well, that's another important point too. When I talk to people, that is a question, because you got to define the terms. What do we even mean by high stakes environments? And for me, high stakes is any situation that really matters. Where the consequences are really important to us. Doesn't have to be important to anybody else, because it's us that we have to deal with. It's us that's going to generate the pressure or the stress or not. It's us that has to execute in those moments. So the only person that the stakes have to be high to in order for it to be a high stakes situation is ourselves. So it could be physical high stakes in the sense that our physical safety is at risk, like with stunts or some of the first responders or military. But it could also be an emotional high stakes situation. Maybe it's a challenging conversation that you're going to have with a spouse, or maybe it's something that you're really wrestling with yourself, or it could be a social high stakes situation. Maybe you have a friend or somebody you think, man, maybe they're drinking a little bit too much, or maybe there's some drug use, or there's some sort of challenging conversation that needs to come up, and it could negatively impact the relationship. That would be a social high stakes situation. So the high stakes doesn't have to be financial or physical, which is where most people go with that. It could also be emotional, social, etc.
Right. Your place in the herd. Okay. So, I also love just talking about language too, and the words we use and how we can set ourselves up for failure or success based on how we talk to ourselves or others. So that's an interesting conversation. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more, but, tell us, you've alluded to it a bit, but tell our listeners, what is it that you do and how you got to this place?
Oh, it's been a crazy path. What I do is a lot of stuff, but it's all starting to coalesce, which is really nice. Right now, what I do is, I work with people who operate in high stakes environments, primarily educators, first responders, corporate people, athletes, coaches, and performing artists like stunt people, singers, dancers, etc. Those are the populations that I tend to work with, and really how that all came about was, I spent 30 years as a stuntman. I'm still doing stunts. I still do that to this day. In fact, I've got a couple shows coming out. The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh my God, I love The Righteous Gemstones.
on that one that was incredibly funny. And when we get into pressure, that's actually a story that I tell a lot. So if you like that show, I'll tell you the story about Righteous Gemstones. And then there was another show called or is called The Cleaning Lady. It's on Fox.
Okay.
A new season just started on that one too. And I have an episode that I did on that coming up here pretty soon.
Okay.
But so I still do stunts. I do keynotes. I do workshops, really focusing on this high stakes environment. And when I say it, it was kind of a circuitous way of getting there. Like I said, I went to college right after high school. I dropped out to be a stuntman. I moved to Los Angeles to be a stuntman with no degree. I left with 1 semester to go. And then, I don't know, 4 or 5 years after that, I just realized that I wanted to learn. And so I went back to school and finished the degree. It wasn't easy though. I was in LA and I had to go all the way back across the country to Rutgers in New Jersey to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I got it done. And then I kept going with a master's in sports psychology and a PhD in organizational psychology, but not with the intention of working in those fields. It was because the mind fascinates me. The effect that our mind has on our ability to function on a day-to-day basis, let alone perform in really critical moments, it is just really intriguing. It's very interesting, and it has been to me for a long time. So I was just enjoying the material, and I was enjoying the immediate applicability of the material. I could take what I was learning and I could apply it in my life right away in so many different ways. So that happened, and then life took a turn the way it does sometimes, and I found myself working as a performance psychology consultant for the U.S. Army.
Wow.
Up at Fort Lewis, which is now Joint Base Lewis McChord in the Tacoma, Washington area. Did that for a couple years, and then went back to stunts again in LA for 4 or 5 years, and then went back to the Army job for another 9 years. Probably about 5 years too long on that one. But it was an interesting job because the second time that I went back, they'd added a resilience component to the program that we were teaching. So it wasn't just traditional sport performance psychology from the standpoint of, here's this performance, let's call it shooting, and we're going to bring in the sport psychologist to help get your mind right so that you shoot better, more consistently. That's traditional sport performance psychology. This resilience component went beyond that, was broader than that. It was around the premise, okay, so how do we create conditions and how do we provide soldiers with the tools and resources that will allow them to be resilient when whatever challenges come up in life happen? Because they're inevitable. We're gonna be hit with some stuff at work, outside of work, everywhere. So what are some tools that are really versatile and can be used across the board to benefit people? And I really gravitated toward that. I loved that program, and I put all of myself into that program. Really kind of took. It's not different necessarily from the sport performance psychology in terms of the theory or the techniques. It was just the intent was different, and I was really behind the intent. So I did that. That's what I did for a lot of years. Went around the globe teaching soldiers, training them in these resilience techniques, and enjoyed it until, I don't know, it was time to go. And then I opened my own business with the intention of doing traditional sport performance psychology with athletes and with performing artists, because I have a place in my heart for the performing artists. I spent a lot of years doing a lot of shows in a lot of places, and I see the benefit
prefrontal cortex formed out there.
So it's something that, it's what I had expected to do, and I did some of, but I recognized fairly quickly into it that I didn't like being pigeonholed into that world and that traditional way of delivering services one-on-one, with the coaching stuff and with the intent of trying. It was just I decided to go a different route, and I started to really do some searching in myself around, well, what is it that my experiences bring that's unique, that's different from other people? And the thing that jumps straight out is, well, high stakes environments. I've been in situations myself personally where if I did it wrong, I or somebody I was working with may not go home, at least in the same condition that we showed up. And there are a lot of people who have been in similar situations, and that would be, again, the physical high stakes. But there are people every day too who mistakes that they make can cost thousands, millions, possibly billions. I don't know. I'm not a lot of money to a lot of people. And so those are high stakes moments as well. And then, you get into the education world where kids, they're, at least in our country, unfortunately, these tests that kids are forced to take are tied to some pretty big things, not only for themselves, but the scores for the schools are tied to funding that the schools get. And so there are stakes in those realms, and those stakes can, depending on how we look at them, be things that can contribute to the stress and pressure that a lot of these people experience. So where I'm at right now is I'm loving the keynotes that I give. I challenge the assumptions, like I mentioned at the very top, around what are there even such things as high stress and high pressure situations? I would say no. Well, if so, what even is pressure? Where does it come from? What is stress? Where does that come from? If it's not the situation itself that's generating it, what is? And how do I deal with it? And by the way, that's not even a new thing that came out of me. I don't even want to take credit for that. That goes back 2,000 years. The Stoic philosophers, who is it? Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. It's not events that disturb us. It's how we think about those events that disturbs us. So the premise from which I'm operating it's not new. It goes back millennia. But I think that it's easy for us to get stuck in this idea that it's our circumstances that are determining how we feel and what we do. And it's just not that way.
Right. The concept may be old, but it is not a universally held train of thought, or, I mean,
because it's how it seems in our life. It's how, when we're walking through our world, we get stuck in traffic, we get angry. We put those two things together very easily. Look, I'm in traffic, so therefore I'm angry. But that has nothing, it's not the traffic that's making you angry. It's how you're perceiving the traffic. It's how you're understanding that situation. That's what's driving the emotion. But that's not immediately apparent unless you take a second and really examine what's going on. And you start to recognize, well, I've been in traffic where I haven't been mad. So how is that the case? If traffic reliably causes madness, then why isn't everybody mad when they're in traffic? They should be, but it's not that way. So
it's or the doorknob that always catches my pocket when I'm in a hurry and not in a great mood. Well, okay, lots to unpack here, but I want to ask my first official question, which is, Brian, are you an impatient entrepreneur?
Am I an impatient entrepreneur?
Yes.
I don't know what impatient means. Oh, an impatient one. Yes. Oh my God. Yes, I am that for sure. And it's funny because my daughter, from the time she could speak English, I mean, truly, she's recognized my lack of patience and has been my sage, my muse in that area. She will, to this day, remind Dad, just be patient. We're gonna get there. It's all gonna happen.
How old is she now?
She's 12. Well, she's about to be 12. She's 11 now. But I mean, she was 3 coaching me on patience in the car. She's strapped into her car seat in the back like, Dad is patient. It was the most absurd thing ever. But yes, patience has never been something that I have had it's not been a virtue of mine. It is something with which I struggle. I understand the value of it. I think it's important. I'm just incredibly bad at it. So
yes. I've joked for many years that patience is a virtue I can't wait to have. How does impatience impact your business or not as an entrepreneur and doing the work that you're doing and coaching or working stunts or whatever it may be?
Yeah, well, it just depends. I mean, sometimes impatience can be a benefit in the sense that when I might rather be doing something else, I want to get to the end of whatever it is that I want to do, or whatever objective I've set, or whatever goal that has been in my head. And so instead of sitting and watching Big Bang Theory, I will get on the computer and I'll write something, or I'll create something, or because I want to make progress. I want to move forward.
Yeah.
And then there are other times when I'm just at a place where one of two things. One, either I've passed the point of diminishing returns, in the sense that I'm tired. My attention is not what it should be. My ability to function is not at the level that it could be. And so I would benefit more from watching The Big Bang Theory than I would from sitting here staring at the computer doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that's one time. And then there are other times when it just simply, I have no control. I mean, I in order to move forward, for example, maybe I want to do more events, or I want to talk to more groups. Well, I can't manufacture it. I can just put out the word, and if people get back to me, they get back to me. There's nothing I can do about that. I can't. So no amount of me bothering them is going to be helpful. Some follow-ups for sure, but at some point it's just, you've done it. You've done what you can do, and now everything's in motion, and you just got to sit back and let it be in motion. But one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur, however, at least in my experience, is that there's no shortage of other things you could turn your attention to. So if this one line of effort is, there's nothing else you can do with it, you just got to sit back and just let the fruits of your labor take hold. Move to a different one. So if you've got all the marketing stuff out, all right, well then move to whatever the next article is, or the next book chapter, or the next networking event, or the next. So there's always something.
Oh yeah, I'm very good at distracting myself. So is there anything in particular that you're impatient about right now? Do you have something coming down the pipe that you're particularly jazzed about?
It's interesting. It's been this new chapter of bringing together the stunts with the sport performance psychology and the experience with the military, all under the umbrella of this high stakes performance environment kind of work. That's been about a year in the making, and it's now to the point where I feel, the way I describe it is like I'm on top of a mountain building a snowball, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it's just going to get so big that the weight is going to be over the edge and it's going to start falling. And I'm at that point. I've got an event coming up at the end of April. I've got a few other things in the works. There was a meeting with a literary agent about a book. I mean, there are just all these little things that are just poised to explode. I just sent out a proposal to a principal today to do a program at their school, and if that happens in that school district, it's going to blow up into all the other schools too. So there's all this stuff that's just right on the edge of taking off, and it's really exciting. And at the same time, it just needs to take off.
Right. It's like this, that first domino is just like teetering back and forth, like, go over.
So there's some impatience in that realm.
I understand. Like, you can see all the potential, and it's also like, oh, if this all hits at the same time, to clone myself. Okay. So, so you have lots of degrees, and I'm sure I've read all sorts of books in your lifetime. Do you continue to stay on top of books and advice, and is that how you fuel yourself today, through to be the best leader and coach that you can be? Do you listen to podcasts? Are you going to conferences? Like, how do you?
I do all of that. I do all of that. I spoke at a conference in October, and that's always a fun opportunity because you get to hear everybody else when they're there. I have a lot of different types of books. I have my own book, Begin Again, Utilize the Wisdom of Eastern and Western Ideologies to Achieve Your Full Potential. That book came out of my own work in myself, where I was going through kind of a challenging time. It was a divorce. I was not doing well. And part of my process, part of my coping, was to just sit down in the morning and just read. And I would read Marcus Aurelius. I would read Seneca. I would read the Bhagavad Gita and the Tao Te Ching, and just different wisdom books from way back, and some from more recent. Ryan Holiday's got some good books. Sam Harris has some good books. So there are some more recent types of things. The podcasts I will listen to. I like Sam Harris. I like Rich Roll. I guess those are the two main ones that I get. But then I have a lot of audiobooks that I listen to as well. There's one on consciousness that Sam Harris's wife just put out. There's a whole documentary series on that one. I like that. There was a new one. I don't know. So yes, to your question, and all over. I don't have just one area that I try to focus on. I really try to take in information from a lot of different places about a lot of different things. And I also, I'm a faculty member at Grand Canyon University. I work as a dissertation chair for their doctoral students. So when the doctoral students finish their coursework and it's time for their dissertation, I basically manage their committee. I'm in charge of helping them get their research from nothing to finished. And through that process, I get a chance to stay up on the latest literature too, because I'm reading all of their papers around the stuff and all the things that they cite, and having conversations with them around all the science related to what they're doing. So it is a multi-pronged effort to stay engaged, but it doesn't even feel like effort. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the material, and I'm very curious. I it's to a fault, truly. I mean, I've got so many books that I would love to read, and I'll never read them. There's no way. There's just not enough hours for me to read. But there they are on my bookshelf, all just sitting there staring me in the face. So,
what an interesting person you are. You're doing things that are very cerebral, and then things that are very physical. I mean, how lucky these PhD candidates are to have you. And like here's Dr. Hite, and then you're gonna go set yourself on fire on the for Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah, that one was funny. Like I said, the story I usually tell around pressure going back to the point that we made earlier, which was it's not the events, it's really how we think about them. And this is where this is honestly where the high stakes environment push came from. Was that, I don't know where I was, but somewhere one day somebody said something about needing to perform well under pressure or needing to be good in high pressure situations. And I thought to myself, I don't know why. I mean, I've heard that it's ubiquitous. Everybody says it. It's all over the place.
So in everybody's resume.
Yeah. And
or job description. Yeah.
For whatever reason, it struck me strange at that moment. I thought, you know what? I don't think that's true. Let me just explore that for a little bit with myself. And so I started thinking back, and I remember early in my career, I was working on a show called VIP. It was a Pamela Anderson TV show back in the day. And I was doing this stunt where I was in the back of a truck, and the truck was driving down the road, and you hear a fight happening inside the truck, and then all of a sudden out flies a guy. That's me. and I fly out of the truck, and I hit the ground and roll. Motorcycle comes whipping around me, and the truck keeps going. So that happened. And I remember that day, it wasn't the first time that I'd worked for that stunt coordinator. He was a friend of mine, but he had some of the biggest stunt people in the business on set that day. I don't know how they all happened to be there that day, but they did. And they were standing on the sideline watching me do a backflip out of the back of this moving truck. And I just remember I remember feeling that pressure. I remember feeling. And so I started to ask myself, well, what was it about that situation that was causing the pressure? And the answer was, if I screw it up, I don't want to look bad in front of these people. My career's going to go south, or, if I screw this up, I'm going to get hurt. If I get hurt, I can't work. I've got bills. I have to pay. I'm not at a place in my career where I can be out of work for however long for these injuries. So I started to think through these things, and I recognized that the pressure was coming from my focus on the consequences.
Right.
That I wasn't worried about the gag itself. I wasn't thinking about the movements or my ability to even execute them. It was, if I screw it up, then. And it was all the stuff that was following the then that was messing me up. Well, then I started to think, okay, so cut to maybe, I don't know, several months ago, I was on the set of Righteous Gemstones. I was in the back of a truck. It was driving down the road, getting ready to get, come out the back of it, hit the ground, roll. So basically the same thing. And there weren't a whole ton of big time stunt people standing on the side watching, but there were the huge stars that run that show all standing there watching. And there was a stunt coordinator who I wasn't really good friends with. I'm friends with him, but we don't know each other that well. And so I want to make him look good. I want to make sure that he doesn't look stupid for hiring me to screw it up. So there's all the same stuff that was there, but in that moment, my attention was on none of that. All I was focused on was, okay, well, what position do I need to be in the back of this? Because it was an SUV, and the back of it, when it hits a bump, the back of it's going to pop up. So what position do I need to be in to be able to pull the latch so that the back pops up when it's supposed to? And I have my hands tied, in front of me. So, all right. So how do I grab this thing with my hands tied, pull it, and get myself in a position where I can fly out of it and land the way I'm supposed to land to get. So it was all of that was going on in my mind, which is exactly what should have been going on when I was doing the other.
Yeah, that's how you not get hurt
on VIP. Which that all went great. By the way, I did. We drove down the road, did the backflip, hit the ground. The motorcycle didn't run over me. Everything was perfect. But it was just the sense beforehand of what that feeling was. There was so much pressure that I felt that first time, and there was so much. I don't want to call it peace, but it was it was a calmness and a focus that existed that second time on Righteous Gemstones that that allowed me to notice the different nuances, notice where, okay, so if this bump is where it is, how am I going to know that coming out the window? Oh, can we put a little thing there so I can see it? There was a calmness that allowed me to think more clearly and to operate more effectively in that situation. And so again, pressure situation, it was almost identical what it was that I was doing. But in one case, I experienced a lot of pressure, and the other one I didn't. And really, that was the impetus for my whole journey down this high stakes environment path, is because I thought that was strange. So it's strange. We can't talk about high pressure situations. It's not that. It's not about the situation. And when we label situations as high pressure, that can cause problems in and of itself, because now we're just, this is if I do it, I'm supposed to experience pressure. So I guess that's what I'm feeling now in my body as my sympathetic nervous system activates. I'm interpreting these physiological changes as pressure, stress, but it can just be excitement. I mean, that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand too, is that if I were to hook you up to every, all the physiological measures, heart rate, skin conductance, breathing, etc., no one would be able to tell whether you were excited or stressed. No one would be able to tell whether you were experiencing a lot of joy or if you were scared. Physiologically, our bodies do the same thing. It's how we interpret those physiological changes that are inevitable, they're and can be expected, they're predictable, but how we interpret them, oh man, I'm feeling this way because I'm not ready. Oh, I'm feeling this way because I'm not prepared. I can't make it happen. Or I'm feeling this way because this is what my body does. This is how it happens. This is what normal human beings, this is what happens to them in these types of situations. So anyway, that's the Righteous Gemstone story and its connection to the pressure, because I really, that was one of the very first times that I really stopped to think, wait a minute, what is going on with this? I think people have it wrong.
Was that last season?
It's this season coming up.
Current season? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this yet. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm caught up.
Yeah. I was Lori's boyfriend number something. I don't know. And so
Okay. I cannot wait. All right.
Yeah. I don't remember what number I was, but I was something. And I came out the back of the truck and it was a whole big thing. So
incredible. All right. I cannot wait. I will report back. But this is really back to the actual point that you're making is so interesting and so powerful, because sometime in the last 6 months, I've had a really tense client conversation where I was talking to somebody who was not acting right, and I needed to hold a boundary and speak up and all that. And just I remember feeling like I'm so glad you can only see me from the shoulders up, because my hands are shaking, they're very sweaty, I'm who knows, and just being like, gosh, like even though I'm doing the right thing and saying the right things and really stepping into my role as a leader here, I'm frustrated with myself that my body is reacting like this, like that it was a failing, even though the other part was a success. So it's nice to be like, yeah, that's what my body's job is. And it becomes very, very helpful in big physical situations. It becomes less helpful in situations where you're sitting from the shoulders up talking to a client. But at the end of the day, it's just what happens. And so we do need to figure out how to regulate it, how to manage it. And this is one of the things that I think, it's one of the confusions that exists around pressure. There are a couple different myths that I talk about. One of them is that we need pressure in order to perform well. And that's some of the pushback that I get sometimes is, no, you don't understand, bud. I need pressure. I do better under pressure. When I have pressure, that's when I'm at my best. And I say, I don't know that that's exactly true. That it may be that when you're feeling pressure, you are also performing well. But I would question that you are performing well because of the pressure that you're experiencing. So, for example, when we experience pressure, like I said before, one of the things that happens is the sympathetic nervous system activates, and our energy activation levels, our level of pumped upness gets elevated. Well, for any given performance, there is a right amount of pumped upness for us to perform well. There's a right amount of arousal for us to be at our best. So is it possible that the pressure you're experiencing
has generated through this sympathetic nervous system activity the amount of energy you need personally to do well in this situation, that is 100% possible.
Mm-hmm.
So are you doing well because of the pressure? Maybe, but only indirectly through the arousal. So in other words, if we could figure out how to get that arousal level to where we need it to be to perform well without experiencing pressure, which is certainly possible, that would be better, because it doesn't come along with all the psychological problems that pressure encounters. Plus, the other problem with pressure too is that our attention by definition is in the wrong place. Because like I said, we experience pressure when our attention is on the potential consequences, the possible consequences of success or failure. It's on the future. That's where our attention is. What might happen? What could happen? And in order for us to be at our best, we need to be paying attention to what is happening, what's going on right now in this present moment. So if we're experiencing pressure, could we benefit from the arousal level increase? For sure we can. Are we still at a disadvantage because our attention's focused on the wrong thing? Absolutely we are. And just to back up a second, when I said success or failure, that's something a lot of people don't understand either, in the sense that let's say I'm giving a presentation and it's an important presentation. I got, board members, stakeholders, all these people in the audience. If the presentation goes well, we get a whole ton of money coming into the organization. If it goes badly, we may not be able to pay the bills. We might have to close the doors. Stakes are high. Yeah. Well, if my attention is in that presentation and I'm thinking, oh man, if I screw this up, then nobody's going to get a job. Everybody's going to be out of work. It's going to be that's going to create some pressure. But flip that and think, you know what? If I knock this out of the park, then the job is set. The organization is there. Everybody's going to be happy. Everything, no problems are going to happen. There's pressure there as well. So it doesn't matter whether the consequences that we're thinking of are good ones or bad ones. What matters is we're thinking about consequences. And when the stakes are high, when those consequences are really important, that's where pressure lives. So it really becomes about shifting our attention from the future to the present, keeping our attention in the moment so that we can focus on those task relevant things that are necessary in order to set conditions for us to achieve what we set out to achieve. Can't guarantee it, because there are other variables that we can't control, but we can at least maximize the likelihood of getting the outcome that we want when we are fully present, fully immersed, fully engaged in what's happening right now.
What would you say to people, not that I have any experience at all with this, but, who do thrive in some more briskly scheduled days, and then, days when it's not quite as intense, it's sort of like, oh, do I have anything I'm supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. So a lot of times people will conflate pressure and stress. They'll treat them like they're the same, and they aren't the same. And the model of stress that I use is called, for any theory geeks out there like I am, the transactional model of stress by Lazarus and Folkman. And what this says is that when we're in a situation, we do a primary appraisal of, is this situation a threat or not? If the answer is no, well, then we don't experience any stress. If the answer is yes, then we do a secondary appraisal. And that secondary appraisal is, do I have the resources necessary to deal with this threat effectively? If the answer is yes, again, the different emotions happen. But if the answer is no, then we experience stress. So where does stress come from? Number one, the perception that we're experiencing a threatening situation. And number two, that we don't have the necessary resources to deal with it. So that's where stress comes from. Now, so when people talk about, I like stressful environments or stressful whatever, it's those situations, I think, where it's the in-between. It's is this a threat? Sure. It's also an opportunity. I mean, we can look at it a couple different ways, which can be exciting, when we look at an opportunity. But even when it's a situation that we can't write off the fact that it's a potential threat. For example, I mentioned those physical threats. Those are the easiest ones to just make the case, but this works for any potential threat. If I'm standing in front of a car that's about to hit me and they call action, the car starts driving at me, that's a potentially threatening situation. I can't just imagine that it's not. I can't just switch it. No, this is a
Right.
great opportunity. It might be a great opportunity, but it is also a potential threat. And so I have to then move to that secondary appraisal. And the secondary appraisal is, do you have the resources necessary to handle it? And my answer has always been yes. In those situations on set, my answer has always been yes. And so I feel excitement. I'm leaning in. There's an approach mindset in those moments where I'm happy. I'm excited about the opportunity to do this. Now, if the answer was different, if no, I really don't have the resources to do this, then I should say no.
Yeah.
I mean, I should say no to the gag. If the stunt coordinator says, here's what I have for you, here's what it all is, and I don't feel like I can do it. Number one, potential threat. Number two, I don't have the resources to handle it. I'm going to feel extremely stressed out, and I should just say no, because I'm not going to be able to perform in those moments. So with stress, the interventions can happen at a couple of places. Number one, is it a threat or isn't it? We can re-examine that in a hopefully more honest and thorough way than maybe just our knee-jerk reactions give us access to. That would be the first place. But the second place is, if we can't, if it's truly, if the situation is a threat, meaning that that something bad might happen to you if it doesn't go right. I mean, that's really what a threat is. If this doesn't go well, something bad could happen. Okay, well, if that's the situation, and it certainly is sometimes, then it comes down to, okay, do I have the resources? And I think that sometimes we're not really good at, number one, recognizing what resources we have available at all. I think sometimes we may fixate on some, and we don't really give ourselves credit for some others. But then number two, really bringing those resources to bear in an intentional, deliberate, maximally effective way is something that we can learn to do better. So again, on the stress, intervention can happen in three places, I think, in there. Number one is change the thing from a threat to a not threat. Change it to an opportunity. Change it to a chance. Change it to, and there are a lot of ways we can do that. But the other is paying attention to the resources. What resources do we have? Let's really be thorough and complete in our assessment of that. And number three, how can we bring those resources fully into every single moment? Because all of that, if I go into a situation believing that I'm capable of dealing with it, I have the resources, I'm good to go, stress is dramatically diminished, and you start to feel like what you kind of described. It's that excitement, it's that leaning in, it's that looking forward to what's going on. Yeah, this is a challenge. This is and that's what it is. As soon as you start recognizing, something bad might happen, but I have the resources to deal with it, it starts to move from threat to challenge. Now it's something that I want to do. It's something I enjoy.
Yeah.
So but it's all happening in our minds. That's the crazy thing. That's to me, the most fascinating thing is that everything I just described has nothing to do with changing the situation itself. There's still a car driving at me and it's going to hit me. That's not different, but how I perceive it, how I think about it, how I explain that situation and my capabilities during it, that is completely between my two ears.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so switching gears somewhat dramatically, abrupt change of subject. Thinking about your career path, especially within your entrepreneurial journey, has there been a moment where everything's trucking along and then you felt like the rug just got pulled out from underneath you, and you thought, "Gosh, I don't know if I'm going to survive this in my business," but ultimately it turned out to be one of the best things that could have happened?
Yeah, I don't know about one single moment of that. I say I've been an entrepreneur for 2 years since I left the Army job, but honestly, I've been an entrepreneur for 30, and this is something I've actually thought about trying to speak about and do more with performing artists, because I wish I'd known then what I know now, having had my business and understanding all the things and really treating myself as a business.
Right.
That's what I should have been doing for the 28 years prior to starting this thing. And during those 30 years, there have been many moments where an injury happening, and I just think, I don't know if I can come back from this. And even if I do, I don't know if I can I don't know if I can do the thing that I got hurt doing again. I don't know if mentally I'm strong enough to be able to go into this place. Even if a doctor tells me I'm physically healthy, I don't know if I can get back in and do this again. And so is my career, which direction am I going? What am I going to do with that? There have been a lot of moments like that. And then just in this entrepreneurial journey, it's been so short. It's only been a couple years, and there's been a lot of transitions in there. There have been a lot more of the, this is a challenge. I don't know what I'm doing, so let me ask somebody to figure it out kind of moments. But I haven't had any that just really floored me and put me down to the place where I was like, I don't know if this can happen. I don't. I'm 51. I've been through a lot of stuff, so I don't believe that that those things certainly aren't possible, and that one may not be right around the corner tomorrow. But I haven't had one that I can think of right now.
Well, it sounds like you have a good mindset, though. A lot of times, like we talked about at the top of the call, things happen to two people, or they happen, and it's like, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me, and I can't surmount this challenge, and so I guess I'll just close my business and move on. So, it sounds like you're probably just.
Well, I'll tell you, Eastern philosophy has really done a lot for me with this. That was an interesting find for me. That I haven't been interested in Eastern philosophy my whole life. This has only been maybe the past, 6 or 7 years. And the reason I say that is because now the Eastern philosophy is very much about not letting go of attachment, of being able to find peace among whatever happens to be going on in life. Right in the middle of the everything, you can still find the equanimity to operate effectively. And so when stuff happens, rather than cling to it and grasp at something that I truly can't control, this thing just happened. It is what it is. I can't go back in time. I can't change anything there. It is what it is. And just that acceptance, that ability to accept what is, has allowed me to move forward, I think, more quickly than I probably would have in the past. And I'll tell you an example. When I was working on my dissertation, that was one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life.
No doubt.
And I would turn the thing in and think I was done, and I'd get the thing back with a bunch of red in it, and I would get so demoralized, so upset, so frustrated. And I just would pause. I mean, there were times that I didn't work on that thing for a couple of months after getting feedback because I just couldn't rebound. And now I'm not like that. Now, if I were to experience that same situation, I would be able to recover a whole lot more quickly because I can't go back in time. I've accepted the situation as it is, which is a term that a lot of people don't. That's another one that kind of gets confused. When I say accept, I don't mean in a resigned way of just, all right, well, this is what it is, and this is what it is. I guess I just have to take it in the teeth. No, it's this is my reality right now. Good, bad, like it, don't like it, whatever. This is the truth. This is the truth right now. I have to accept that. I can't gloss it over. I can't ignore it. I have to just accept what is, because as soon as I do, then I can accurately figure out what avenues are open to me to move things in a direction I would prefer that they go. So yeah, to get back to your whole point of the whole thing is, when that stuff happens, if it's, oh, woe is me, oh, I wish you couldn't have, oh, I can't believe, I don't know, spend a few minutes doing that if you have to, but where the progress is going to come is once all that's gone, and there's just a calm acceptance of, this is my reality right now. So what needs to change? What do I need to do? Which pieces need to get picked up and put back together? Let's just start.
I had the opportunity here of a fellow entrepreneur speak. It's been almost 3 years now, but it was really like kind of adult core memory activated. He was, it wasn't what he came to talk about, but he was like, I promised myself that I would share this message to every audience I ever talked to, but it might have been a Buddhist monk who told him in the first place, and he's like, now I have to share this going forward. But it was, anytime you're faced with adversity, tell yourself, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't know how yet, but it is. And but a few months later, after he was told this, he watched his business like physically, literally burn to the ground. He was just standing there going, "Oh my gosh!" And he said, "Okay, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't know how yet, but it is." And he ended up totally changing his business. Instead of just falling to the ground, which he did do that, but instead of just staying there, like, okay, well, how can this be an opportunity instead? And they changed wholly everything, how they did their business and how they held on to inventory and all that. And so I then like, okay, well, not a few months after hearing that message, I went through a situation in my business that really knocked me off my feet. And I mean, I'm crying. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't know how. And it was, it was something that needed to happen. And as I see peers or other businesses, just what we're talking about, it's like, okay, if you, whether it's through the kind of the acceptance you're talking about or more Delulu, this is the best thing that's ever happened. Just having the right mindset, because it's, like, I guess if we're talking stoicism, bringing it back to the top, it's not what happens to us, but how we respond to it. And that's what separates those who carry on and those who don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's one of my favorite stories is an old, I guess it's Chinese proverb or whatever, but there's this old Chinese guy and he has this horse and his horse runs away and a neighbor comes over like, "Oh, your horse ran away. That really sucks." And he said, "I don't know, maybe." Yeah. And so his son goes out to get the horse, comes back with 6 new horses in addition to the other one. And the neighbor's like, "Oh, what? You got 6 new horses? That's great." Guy's like, "I don't know, maybe." So then the son gets on the new horse, break the horses, and he gets thrown off, breaks his leg. Neighbor's like, "Oh, man, that sucks. Your son broke his leg." "I don't know, maybe." Here comes the government to come by and conscript the son for a war that's happening. And they're like, "He's hurt. Can't take him." Neighbor's like, "Oh, that's great. They didn't take your son." "I don't know, maybe." So that story to me has on 2 levels fits in with what you're talking about in the sense that, number one, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Right. We just don't. We don't know. So all we know is what is. And if we can just stay open to all of the various possibilities that are out there, then that's great. The other is even what is, we don't know if it's good or bad,
right?
Because of the first problem. We don't know the future.
Yeah, exactly.
So some humility in terms of interpreting our circumstances and some optimism in terms of moving forward into the future, I think is warranted.
Yes, very, very wise. Okay, getting close to wrapping up here. Tell us about you as a kid. Was there a personality trait of yours where people made you feel like it was a weakness, but now as you're doing all this incredible work, you realize it was actually your superpower all along?
Well, I don't know that anybody made me feel like it was a weakness, but they certainly tried to curtail it, and that was my just the risk taking. I mean, I was climbing trees and jumping bikes and doing all the things for my childhood. Like, "Brian, get down off of it," So it was all of that tried to get curbed, and it was funny too. I really wanted to play football when I was a kid. Really wanted to play football a lot. And my mom wouldn't let me. She was afraid I was going to get hurt. So there's some irony there.
Yeah.
All right, you're not going to play football. I'm going to be a stuntman. How about that,
tree.
Mom? Take that. So that's probably the thing that comes to mind when you speak about that stuff.
That's hilarious. Yes, as a mother of a young boy and daughter, but my son, I'd be like, "Oh God." No. Okay, so what's a piece of advice you can give our listeners to make their lives and businesses stronger and better today?
Opportunity is real. It happens all the time. I think a lot of people think of opportunity as this rare thing that all stars have to align for it to happen. And I don't think that that's true, but I do think that 3 things have to align for opportunity to happen. One is we have to be open to the possibility that something's going to happen at all in the first place. Sometimes we can be very rigid in the way that we're approaching the world. We've got our goals, we've got our objectives, we are hell bent on pursuing this path, and that's what we're doing. And that puts essentially blinders on. We just don't see what else is out there. So we're missing possible opportunities passing right next to us because we just don't see it. We're so fixated on this one thing. So that's the first thing. The second is if we can take those blinders off and be more aware of the opportunities, is being willing to flex, being willing to consider those other things. And yeah, I did think that I wanted to go get this degree, but now this job opportunity has come up that if I take it, I won't have the time to get the degree. So yes, I've put 2 years of my life and thousands of dollars into getting this degree because it was the right thing for me to do when I made the decision. But now I've got this other possibility that would be a great thing. Am I willing to flex? So number one, the openness to see the opportunities. Number two, the willingness to change, to switch directions. And then number three is having the courage to take that first step. Yeah. Because the second, third, fifth, thousandth step, those are easier. None are easy necessarily, but they are easier. But that first one, that one's a rough one. And having the courage to step out of the unknown, to step into the unknown, out of our comfort zones, and really just give it a shot. That's what's required. So opportunity, it happens all the time, but for us to take advantage of it, we got to recognize it. We have to be willing to flex to move toward it, and we have to be willing to commit and take that first step.
Beautiful. Thanks for sending us off on a high note here. Where can people find you?
BrianHiteGlobal.com. That's the easiest place to do it. You can send me an email, Brian@BrianHiteGlobal.com. Schedule a discovery call, send me an email, whatever you want to do. But if pressure and stress and burnout and just a sense of overwhelm, if these are challenges that you face, I strongly encourage you, just reach out to me. I've been there. It's a rough place to be, but it's not a place where you have to stay. And there absolutely are strategies and approaches that can help maneuver through some of these challenges that you're facing and get you, back to where you want to be.
Nice. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Impatient Entrepreneur. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a 5-star review. You can also chat with us on Instagram or Facebook at The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. Want to star on a feature episode? Head over to theimpatiententrepreneur.com to inquire. Thank you to the team at Quidar & Co. for believing in me and bringing this podcast to life. And thank you to Carson Childers for mixing and editing this episode. I can't wait to see you next time.